Welcome to Brampton Focus. We're talking about the contentious issue of carding. Some would say it's a valid police tool that is necessary. Others would say it's profiling. Does it do good or does it do harm? My name is Michael A Charbon. Coming up next, Sophia Brown Ramsay will join us from the Black Community Action Network, right here on Brampton Focus. Welcome back to Brampton Focus. We're talking about carding. You talk about a contentious issue. This is something which is before, first of all, the city of Brampton and, of course, the city of Mississauga. So a contentious issue. I want to welcome Sophia Brown Ramsay here. Sophia Brown Ramsay is with the Black Community Action Network, and she's the program manager, and also Carla Bailey from Brampton Focus. Sophia, thank you so much for being here. I've had the pleasure of working with you before. I know so many great things that you do for our community, and we appreciate you taking the time to speak to us about this issue.
Thank you, Mike.
Carding has been something which has been a contentious issue in the city of Toronto, and it has been all around North America, where they feel that it is untoward, that there are people who, police specifically, who are stating they're using this as a tool, as an investigative tool, that they're focusing on certain minority groups. One would say that police routinely suppress racial data in Canada because they don't want to have the kind of statistics brought out. The Federal Department of Justice, however, has previously judged that such data collection could be helpful for policy development and statistical purposes, but the reluctancy to collect and share the data may have more to do with public relations concerns. You are in the community, you live the community, you are the community. What is the community saying about carding? What is the feeling out there? Is this something they're feeling they're being focused on?
The community feels that they're being targeted by the police around this issue of carding. They feel neglected in other ways. There is an issue of trust. So when we talk about carding, Michael, you're looking at carding as the issues that's happened in the community, in our community today, in our society today. Because it's not just here in Peel, it's not just in Toronto. Like you said, it's all over the world.
Yes.
So here is the issue that we're finding. It goes right back to trust. There's a lack of trust. And so when you have that lack of trust, whatever is happening, and even, my conversations with the chief of police, Chief Evans, she will tell you that carding is necessary for investigation.
When you say trust, is it trust in what they're doing with the data afterwards, or trust in the actual collection of the data?
Trust in the collection, trust in just even the relationship with the police. That's the issue. Behind all of this is an issue of lack of trust with the people that are supposed to serve and protect.
But the police, my job here is not to support one or the other. Right. Obviously, there are two sides to every issue. My purpose here is to try and stimulate discussion, and there are many questions and comments that you can read anywhere that represent both sides. What my job here is to try and stimulate discussion. I'm not trying to promote or discount. There are good cops, there are bad cops. Right. There are good people and bad people who are carded. Right. Is there a feeling, though, that all police officers who stop and use the technique of carding are being racist?
Can I say that what I'm hearing in the community, what I'm hearing people say, is that they feel it's a racial bias, and it's a matter of, the older officers might understand a little bit better. They might be a little bit more respectful. So, because sometimes it's not even an issue of being stopped. It's how you are, how people feel harassed when they're stopped. It's how people feel, just this lack of respect. So you're right. It is not just the criminal elements that are being stopped. It's lawyers, it's doctors, it's school teachers. As a matter of fact, I was at the Peel Service Board meeting on Friday, and our mayor talked about being at one of the consultations and hearing a school teacher who had been stopped multiple of times, stopped in front of his home, stopped in front of his children, his son in particular. And when you're trying to raise a black man in our community at this time, there's a lot of elements behind that. So yeah, I am for the police doing their job. They have a very difficult job to do. They are here to protect us. They're here to to make us feel safe. And we are supposed to want to work with them. But what I'm hearing from the community is that this issue of carding is getting in the way of people aligning with the police, collaborating with the police, so that in these urban areas where you're finding a lot of criminalization, they get no help because there's no trust. You know, do you understand what I mean? Do you get what I'm saying with this?
I get what Sophia is trying to say. Well, what she's doing a very good job in saying is, one, Black people are not feeling that, okay, they can approach the police because of how they've been treated and are being treated a lot of the times, and how when they're approached, they don't want to assist and they don't want to help because they feel, okay, if I say anything, it's not going to help me. So it's better to just keep my mouth shut in the sense.
One of the things that the police have said numerous times is that the community has not participated, that they're looking for the community to participate, particularly when they go into certain areas of crime. Right. They're not getting participation. Do you really believe that that is a result of carding?
You take it. Take it.
Well, it's a cycle that just keeps going around. They don't feel safe. They don't feel that they can trust in the relationship that they don't have with the police officers right now. Let's look at in the olden days. You used to have a cop in your neighborhood, and you used to know your police officers. But now most people don't know who their police officers are. Whenever they see them, they turn and walk the other way.
But the elements of crime and criminal activity, then we're talking about nefarious drug activity. We're talking about people with guns. One of the things that police say is this is an investigative tool for intelligence, that they're able to gather information of groups of people who are in areas that are crime-ridden, and that they can gain relationship. About 30 seconds left. Just a quick little answer, and then we'll take this back up when we come back after the break.
So for me, I hear that and I understand that and I appreciate that because I do want to feel protected. But I go back to the issue of how the officers are approaching the person that they're stopping, so that we're not finding that people are being stopped just in areas that are crime ridden. It's not the truth.
Well, it's like the gentleman. I think we have to come back to that.
Yeah.
Sophia Brown Ramsay is here, and so is Carla Bailey. We're talking about carding. You're watching Brampton Focus. I'm Michael A Charbon. When we return, we will revisit this topic and speak to the mayor. Back right after this. And welcome back to Brampton Focus. Joining me today on the subject of carding, quite a contentious issue, is Miss Sophia Brown Ramsay. Miss Ramsay is the Black Community Action Network Program Manager and a wonderful service person to our community. And also joining us today is Miss Carla Bailey from Brampton Focus. As of late, the police board chairman has been replaced. Previously, the chairman was in favor of carding and supported Peel Regional Police Chief, although the mayor of both Brampton and of Mississauga was not in favor of carding. As of late, Mr. Amrit Singh Ahluwalia has been inducted as the new police board chairman and is not in favor of carding. So we're looking for a change. As Madam Mayor Crombie said, it's nice to see someone of a minority in that position, which will bring a different perspective to the issue of carding. Also joining us today, I'd like to say thank you to Madam Mayor Linda Jeffries, who will be joining us today and answering some questions on carding. Madam Mayor, thank you so much for joining us. The use of carding is a police tool, and now former chair did endorse carding, but now we have a new person in the board chair. How do you think this is going to change the perspective of the police board?
Well, first of all, I want to say how pleased I am that Amrit Ahluwalia is the new chair of the Police Services Board. He's been on the board, I think, since 2011, has worked really hard. and he's a good representative, and he's somebody who does his homework, and I think he's going to be a good leader. I would say the issue of street checking, which is what we call it in Peel, is certainly controversial. We've had 3 public consultations, one with the Minister of Corrections Safety, Minister Nakvi, came out to Brampton, actually came up to my neighborhood at Loafers Lake and had a public consultation, and we had 2 subsequent consultations with the public. I would say we still need to have the debate about this issue. I am very troubled by what I hear from my residents, from professionals who are stopped with no discernible reason. There doesn't seem to be continuity or consistency in what we do when we stop people on the street. So I heard from mothers, and I heard from a teacher, a young man, a father with 3 children who had been stopped in his own driveway. He'd been stopped at his place of work, eating his lunch in his truck. He's a teacher. And what he was accused of, there was no evidence that he'd done anything criminal, anything questionable, but he is black. So I really think this carding, street checking issue is an issue of confidence, and certainly I think we're going to have some very serious debates on an ongoing basis. And as that new board formulates, I'm pretty sure this new chair of the board will raise this issue, and we'll be making some decisions.
Respectfully, though, when a police chief wants to use a technique, particularly carding, how can politicians question the judgment and the technique of professional policing?
Well, I think if you understand the role that the Police Services Board plays is civilian oversight. We also are the policy setters, just as I am a policy setter as a mayor at City Council. We don't direct the operations of our staff at City Hall, nor do we direct the operations of what our police force does. But at the end of the day, the Police Services Board is a civilian oversight board and sets policy on an ongoing basis. And certainly the province of Ontario is engaged in this issue and has made it clear that it is their intention to put on legislation that will address the issue of carding and the fairness and the equity of this particular issue. So I'm happy to work with the province of Ontario to find a way forward to give the police the tools that they need. A very difficult job, brave men and women who really take a very serious step in this career, working with the public, very dangerous profession, and I want to make sure that they have the tools they need. But there needs to be a balance in how we treat our residents, and it's going to be a debate, I think, that will, I hope, build and foster more public trust in that debate.
Right. Madam Mayor Linda Jeffrey, Mayor of Brampton, thank you so much for being part of Brampton Focus. We appreciate your time. Sophia, you heard the mayor. I mean, very articulate, seems to support your position. Would the community endorse this position? It sounds like they would.
The community would love this position. I think the mayor had to underscore what she talked about, and you heard her talk about trust. You heard her talk about the young man that I referenced to earlier being stopped in his driveway. You cannot have a segment of a community who feels displaced in their own home to some extent. You cannot have that. And so I think it is real leadership. It is real leadership when you have the new police board chairperson that has decided that, we really have to take a look at this. We really have to hear and listen to the public on how they're feeling around this. So do we want to put our officers in harm's way? We don't. We do need to find the proper tools to help them to do the job that they're doing, a very difficult job. But at the same time, I think it's a problem if we do not listen to a big segment of our population that feels that they're being thrown aside.
Some would say it's cause and effect.
Absolutely.
So if it's cause and effect,
okay,
would it not be then if the question from our black community is saying that they're being targeted, they're using their race as the reason why they believe they are being stopped. Do you then believe that the only reason that cops are stopping them is because they're black? Is there not some other reason? Should we not have some race-based crime statistics that could at least show us where the problems are? Because I mean, we've seen statements saying that that's from a public relations standpoint.
And I think I think, Michael, respectfully, I think that's still problematic. I think the fact that if the data shows that Black people are disproportionately committing crimes, that is still a problem for the ones, like I said, that's being stopped for no reason, that hasn't done anything, that feels that they're being disrespected in their homes, in the streets, they're being disrespected. So to me, it would not matter if you had the data that says, you know what, in this particular segment of the population is committed more crime than perhaps this other,
But then you also got to look at, okay, if we do have the statistics that's saying Blacks are committing more crime, why is that? Are there the same amount of services available? Are Black people staying in school? Are they being educated in the same way? Are they getting the same services provided to them? What's causing it? Why? Because if you're having this disproportionate number happening, you can't just look at it and say, oh, they're just illiterate and they like to cause problems. Doesn't help society.
Or they're just bad people.
Yeah, I mean, all those are interesting facts. With our third segment, there have been some statistics that have come out, and unfortunately, they're from American Department of Justice, and they're not particularly good. And unfortunately, they reveal some of those things. When we return to Brampton Focus, we'll have our final segment on carding. My name's Michael A Charbon. Back right after this. Welcome back to Brampton Focus, our final segment. As you heard from the Mayor of Brampton in our previous segment, she's definitely against carding, as is Madam Mayor Crombie. And now with the new Police Service Board's chair, Amrit Singh Ahluwalia, he's also against it. So we'll see what materializes. One of the things that we talked about, joining us is Sophia Brown Ramsay, who is the manager for the Black Community Action Network, and also Miss Carla Bailey from Brampton Focus. One of the things that we talked about when the cameras were off is we talked about statistics, because you have to see where the problem is and what it is. Because Canada really does not retain statistics and crime statistics, who do we turn to? Our neighbor to the south. And the Department of Justice provided criminal statistics as of April 2015. And here are some of the facts. Now, I'm not trying to assail, I'm just trying to bring forth facts that may have some relevance as to why carding is taking place and why it is being used as an investigative tool, and the lack of these statistics, which could be something that we should consider in this country. So, the Department of Justice in the United States says Blacks were attackers in 84.5% of the violent crimes involving Blacks and whites. And when whites commit violence, they choose fellow whites as victims 82.4% of the time and almost never attack Blacks. And finally, the Department of Justice reports that 1 in every 15 Black men is in jail, as opposed to 1 in 36 Hispanics and 1 in 106 whites. Those are devastating facts, and that's such a comment on society, and it's so many things. But some would say that statistics like that bears out the facts that some police officers use carding as a technique for investigative and trying to find information out from areas that are crime-ridden.
Okay, but then, Michael, there was an article out in the Metro paper the other day, and it was talking about, of the 2.5 million men that are in jail, 1 million of them are Blacks. You want to tell me they're in jail
so
because
is that so you can take that two ways. You can take that one way and say that there is a higher propensity of Black criminals in jail, or that there were more Blacks who were targeted, or I mean, you could talk about how do you take that fact?
It speaks to the issue. It speaks to history. It speaks to the history of how Black people have been treated from before slavery, and the fact is we have this anti-Black racism. It's there, and in dealing with this, it is not just the issue of the police, it's the issue of the system failures for Black people. So why are you having these numbers of Black people in jail? Let me tell you, I had worked, and we didn't even talk about this before, but I'd worked with Marjorie Amos House and worked with the criminal justice system when I was much younger. And we worked, and Marjorie Amos House was and it's still around, it's for Elizabeth Fry. And it's like a home for, kids that have been in conflict with the law. So you had, the open custody, which is a house, beautiful home, something like this, beautiful home, and then you had the jail. And so what happened? When you would go into the open custodies with these kids were doing the same crimes as the other kids that were put in jail, but it was the Black kids primarily that was behind bars, and it was the white kids that were in this beautiful home, getting to go out to school, getting to go out on weekends, getting to do all of these different things.
Is that not, Sophia? Is that not an exception to the rule? When we're looking at crime, if a police officer is doing his or her job, they go into an area and they try to stop crime. That's what their job is. And if more people of a certain color are creating crime, more of those people are going to be arrested, and more of them are going to be incarcerated. Is it a point where we're almost embarrassed to say that because we think it's saying something disparagingly? Will we ever come to the point that we can face what the facts are?
I'm hoping. This is Black History Month.
Yeah.
So I am hoping that
I'm just trying to give a perspective here. I'm not trying to be disparaging or point fingers, but we have to give both sides of the story, right? We have to stimulate discussion.
I completely understand. I completely understand that, and I respect that. I do, and that gives us an opportunity to really tell the real story, because it is us as Black women, as Black people that do understand, that have walked in those shoes, and you live in a nice neighborhood, and you're being stopped. You're being stopped because you're walking to your home, and someone's going to ask you, a police officer is going to ask you, "Oh, are you the maid? Because you're on Mississauga Road. Are you kidding me?" That's a problem.
Yeah, that's racist.
So we need balance, and again, I go back to underscoring what the mayor said. You need to look at some kind of balance, because if you're hearing this type of story from segments of the population, you must listen to that.
So we've got about a minute left, Sophia. I want to give you part of BCAN, which is the Black Community Action Network. You're the program manager. With about a minute left, reach out to the folks at home, tell them how they can find out more information and how we can stimulate discussion and hopefully some positive change.
Well, you know what? I am so pleased. Thank you so much for both of you for giving me this opportunity to talk to folks, because there is a job that we have to do. And what I love about Brampton Focus is what BCAN is doing. It's what Black people have done for a long time, and hopefully this is what we're going to push into again, and working collaboratively. We cannot do this alone. So when we talk about these changes, and we're talking about carding tonight, but it's really on a system level that we have to look at doing some work. So please get to us at bcanpeel.com, leave me a message, or you can call me at 416-433-7715. I'm happy to talk.
Sophia Brown Ramsay from BCAN, Black Community Action Network, and Carla Bailey, thank you, from Brampton Focus. My name is Michael A Charbon. Thanks for watching. We look forward to seeing you again soon. Take care.